In the heart of Chicago's grand auditorium, under the glow of crystal chandeliers, Sarah Collins stepped through the heavy oak doors, her worn guitar case slung over her shoulder. It was October 12th, 2027, and the air buzzed with ambition and judgment. Her faded jeans, frayed at the cuffs, and her plain gray sweater marked her as an outsider in a sea of tailored suits and polished instruments. Her dark hair, loosely tied, framed her oval glasses, which sat slightly askew on her nose. The auditorium smelled of wax and wealth, and every glance her way felt like a blade. The assistant at the registration desk, her nails tapping sharply on a tablet, barely looked up. "Name," she snapped. "Sarah Collins," Sarah replied, her voice soft but steady. The assistant smirked, sliding a crumpled audition slip across the desk. "Fill it out, but don't hold your breath. Dreamers like you don't make it here." Sarah's fingers lingered on the slip, her knuckles tightening briefly before she folded it with deliberate care and slipped it into her pocket. A group of students nearby, their sleek guitar cases gleaming, snickered. A girl with a velvet headband leaned in, her voice carrying. "That guitar is practically kindling. Is she here to play folk tunes from a barn?" Laughter cut through the crowd, sharp and mean. A man in a crisp blazer, his cufflinks flashing, muttered loudly, "Why let her in? She looks like she wandered off a street corner." Sarah's hand paused on her guitar case, her shoulders stiffening, but she didn't look at him. Her sneakers moved silently across the marble floor as she took her place at the back of the line, her chin lifting just enough to say she wasn't invisible. The crowd's whispers grew sharper. A professor in a tailored coat hissed, "Walk-ins like her mock this institution." Sarah's lips pressed thin, but her silence held weight, like a storm gathering strength. In the fourth row, an elderly man in a faded navy suit, his hands gripping a worn cane, watched her closely. His eyes, sharp despite his age, traced her battered guitar. His breath hitched, and he whispered to himself, "Could it be Sarah Collins?" No one heard. The room was too busy tearing her down. A student with a diamond earring sneered, "She's probably chasing Julian Voss's autograph." Sarah adjusted her glasses, her movements calm but precise, as if anchoring herself against the tide of scorn. A young man with a silk tie, leaning against a pillar, called out, "Hey, walk in. This isn't an open mic night. That guitar belongs in a museum." The crowd laughed, but Sarah's eyes flicked to his pristine case, her lips twitching not a smile, but something sharper. The old man in the navy suit leaned forward, his cane tapping softly. He whispered to the woman beside him, "That's her. I'd know that guitar anywhere." She frowned, confused, but he waved her off, his gaze locked on Sarah. The auditions began, the tension in the auditorium electric. Julian Voss, a 38-year-old legend with a Grammy for classical guitar, sat in the front row, his sharp features set, his pen tapping a notebook. His presence was a weight, his nods or frowns dictating the room's mood. One performer, a girl in a shimmering gown, fumbled a chord, earning a curt shake of Julian's head. Another, a man with slick-back hair, rushed his piece, and the assistant's smirk grew. Sarah stood at the back, her guitar against her hip, watching each performer with a quiet intensity, like she saw something no one else could. A woman with a pearl brooch stood, her voice slicing through the hall. "Why is she still here? This isn't a charity for wannabes with thrift store guitars." The crowd snickered, heads turning. Sarah's fingers froze mid-motion, adjusting her glasses. She didn't look at the woman, but her jaw tightened, and she turned to face the stage, her silence a shield. The old man's cane tapped again, his eyes lingering on her hands, as if piecing together a memory. The assistant's voice cut through. "Sarah Collins, number 52. The room turned, eyes narrowing. The velvet headband girl laughed. "This'll be quick." Sarah stepped forward, her guitar case brushing her leg, the stage steps creaking under her weight. The spotlight hit her, glinting off her glasses. She sat, her guitar balanced on her knee. Julian leaned forward, his voice smooth but edged. "You. Play Tormenta at 180 BPM. Full tempo. His smirk screamed he expected failure. A man in a pinstripe suit stood, his voice dripping with mockery. Is this a joke? She looks like she's busking for coins. The crowd roared with laughter. Sarah's hand hovered over the strings, her head tilting slightly. She pushed her glasses up, her silence heavier than his words. The hall fell quiet. Tormenta, a brutal piece by Mateo Alvarez, demanded speed and soul, a beast that broke even seasoned players. The assistant rolled her eyes, already flipping her tablet. The headband girl whispered, "This'll be a train wreck." Sarah nodded once, her fingers settling on the strings. The first note rang out, crisp and fierce. Then another, faster. Her hands moved like wildfire, each chord perfect, each run alive. The crowd's smirks faded. The assistant's tablet froze. The headband girl's jaw dropped. Halfway through, a judge, a woman with a severe ponytail, stood. "Stop. This is pointless. She's not ready for this." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sarah's hands paused, the strings humming faintly. She looked up, her glasses catching the light, and waited. The judge waved dismissively. "Go on, then. Prove me wrong." Sarah's fingers resumed, each note now a quiet rebellion, sharp and alive. The judge's pen faltered, her expression cracking. Sarah's guitar wasn't kindling, it sang, telling a story of pain and triumph. The old man gripped his cane, tears in his eyes. Julian's smirk vanished, his hands clenched tight. The final chord hit, vibrating through the hall. Silence. Then applause erupted, chairs scraping as people stood. A woman in an emerald dress stood, her voice shrill. "This is absurd. She's probably been drilling that one piece to fool us." The crowd hesitated, doubts creeping back. Sarah's hand tightened on her guitar, but she didn't look at the woman. Her silence cut deeper than words. Julian was on his feet, his voice sharp. "Where did you learn?" Sarah met his eyes, her voice barely audible. "In silence." The old man chuckled, a knowing sound that made Julian flinch. A student with spiked hair shouted, "She's just copying. Let's see her improvise." Others nodded, their skepticism flaring. A janitor pushing a cart paused, pulling a faded program from his pocket. "Sarah Collins," he muttered loudly. "Saw her name in the Archivisa Prodigy, trained by Maestro Antonio Vega." The crowd hushed, curiosity replacing scorn. Sarah's fingers brushed her strings, a sharp note ringing out like a challenge. She looked at the spiked hair student. "Name 3 melodies." He stammered. Bach's Prelude, Albanese's Asturias, Tarrega's Capriccio. Sarah closed her eyes, her fingers weaving a new piece, blending the 3 into something raw and breathtaking. The crowd gasped, the professor's pen clattering to the floor. Julian stormed the stage, his own guitar gleaming. "We duel. Same piece, same tempo." The crowd roared, phones out. Sarah stepped aside, her face unreadable. Julian played first, his notes precise but strained, a missed beat betraying his anger. Sarah followed, her performance alive, each note a story. The old man shook his head as a woman approached him. "Maestro Antonio, is that her? The girl you trained in Madrid?" He nodded, showing her a faded photo of a young Sarah, playing the same guitar. The woman gasped. She vanished after her family's tragedy. The crowd overheard, their whispers shifting. The applause shook the hall as the MC announced, "Sarah Collins, honorary instructor." Julian shook her hand, his grip tight, searching for weakness. He found none. The old man approached. "You're still playing, Sarah?" She paused at the door, sunlight spilling in. "I never stop, maestro." Months later, Sarah taught in a small studio, her course packed with overlooked students. A boy, maybe 13, struggled with a chord. Sarah knelt, guiding his hands. "Let it breathe," she said softly. Sunlight caught her guitar scratches, a quiet witness to her strength. Julian, in another room, traced her melody, rediscovering his craft. The assistant was fired, her sneer viral. The headband girl's career tanked, her post a lesson in humility. Sarah's name spread, a beacon for the dismissed. Her silence had always been her power, her music her truth. What do you think can one performance really change a life? Was Sarah a prodigy or a fraud who fooled them all? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that challenge everything you believe. Where are you watching from?